Yo, was good. So, we are going to be talking about identity and how it shapes your entire reality. The reality that you are perceiving is based off of your mind, and your mind is comprised of memories that you have experienced or observed and experienced from the past. And that is a memory bank. It's a memory bank. It's an artifact of the past. That's what our mind is. And it's also a prediction making machine. What does that mean? So, based off of your experiences or your observed experiences that you have lived or lived in your mind, because the subconscious doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and one that you are actually experiencing. And that is comprised of the thoughts and the feelings that you felt in that moment when you were originally experiencing it. And that was starting to be embossed into your body, your biology, as chemistry and stored into your subconscious mind. And that created an identity of how you saw the world and how you saw yourself and how you perceived things. But let's back it up a little bit. Let's back it up to how your thoughts and your feelings start to formulate that perception, how they start to formulate that identity within you, and how they start to formulate your self concept, your self image, and how you ultimately perceive your reality. So, thoughts and feelings, you form enough of those, uh, and you have let's just say, for example, you have a feeling or a craving to go eat this type of food. Like, oh, I really want this food. And that feeling started to produce a thought of you wanting to eat that food. And so now you have a cycle going of thinking about that feeling or that feeling of like, oh, this would be so good to have right now. And now you're actually creating more feelings to think the same way that you felt. Does that make sense? Okay, so it does. Nice. Now you do that enough times, and that creates an attitude. So let's just use the gym as an example. I have a beautiful relationship with the gym. I love the gym. I've had a lot of really good, amazing thoughts and feelings from the gym, which has created a very good memory for me. But let's just say this isn't about me. Let's say this is about somebody that is trying to get into training. They want to get into the gym. They want to have a good experience in the gym, but they have a lack of understanding. They have a lack of knowledge of how to start and how to do things, and they have no past memories of how to do things correctly. And because they have no past memories of how to do things correctly, and they have this lack of understanding, and they have this kind of doubt a little bit. They start to worry and develop doubt, and that is produced as fear or anxiety maybe in the body. And because they have this anxiety in the body, and it's being expressed as anxiety through the body, now they might have a different relationship with the gym. And so they tried to go to the gym, they tried to work out on their own, they tried to do all these things, but they started to develop a mental attitude after trying so many times and thinking about how to do it and constantly over analyzing and feeling a certain type of way about it. And that created an attitude or a bad attitude about the gym. And they did that enough times. And that started to create a belief about the gym and about how they saw themselves. Oh, I'm not good at working out. Working out's not for me. I don't know what I'm doing and this isn't going to work, right? And they start to develop beliefs around the gym. They start to develop negative beliefs around the gym. But this could also be reversed into positive, like what I was saying before about myself. But they started to form a belief about how they saw the gym. And that belief started to formulate more and more attitudes. And they started to develop a perception of how they saw themselves in the gym. They started to develop their self concept in the way that they perceived reality. And because that perception created their identity of how they saw themselves and how they saw the gym, they had different decisions that they were making because they were feeling a different way. Their behaviors were different because they didn't feel like the gym was meant for them. They didn't have a good, strong feeling for the gym, and their behaviors were not started to tell themselves that, oh, let's not go to the gym. So they made a decision to not go to the gym, and then they had an experience about feeling kind of guilty or maybe upset with themselves or like the gym's just not for them, and that was their experience about that perception of how they saw the gym. And that started to create their identity, which was creating their reality, their perceived reality of how they saw the gym. So some people, why is it that some people like they go to the gym, they start at the exact same time. You take two people, they start at the exact same time, but one of them has a totally different experience than the other person. It's because of their perception. It's because of their self-concept, their identity, and how they start to perceive the reality that they're experiencing when they're in that environment. They're not perceiving it the same way the other person is perceiving it, that is perceiving it in a positive way. They're perceiving it in a negative way based off of their memories or their observed experiences that they've seen other people. They've seen other people fail. They've seen other people that have had the same circumstances as them and it didn't work out, right? So they start to develop a belief about themselves. And then that belief formed into a lot of attitudes. And all those attitudes string together, started to develop a perception about how they saw the gym. And that perception started to create different behaviors and different decisions and the way that they experienced going to the gym or maybe not going to the gym. And so now they developed the belief of like, oh, it's just not for me. You know, they developed an identity that I'm not the person that goes to the gym. I don't do these types of things. You know, I don't succeed in this environment. But this can be applied to any aspect of your life. It does not have to just be about the gym. I'm just using that as an example here. But your identity shapes literally every single thing in your life. You have beliefs and perceptions about religion. You have beliefs and perceptions about money. You have beliefs and perceptions about jobs. You have beliefs and perceptions about relationships. The way you see yourself is the way you start to act and move in this life. So last thing to wrap up this video, you don't see life the way it is. You see life the way you are. And you see right here, I wrote down a little brain. You have reality, you have what reality actually is, and then you have it filtered through your brain to form a perception about how reality is. You're seeing reality the way you are. It's being filtered through your lens based off of your past memories, your past lived experiences, your past emotionally observed experiences, which is experiences that you never truly experienced, but because your mind literally believed it was real because it doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined and emotionally involved experience that you've had or a real experience. And now you perceive reality in a very specific way. And everybody has their own unique perception about reality. And some people you resonate with, some people you don't resonate with, right? And that's why some people are in, you know, whatever group of people, and these people are in other groups of people because they are actually perceiving reality in a very similar way. So that forms a stronger connection, a stronger bond because they have more past memories and thoughts and feelings and beliefs and perceptions to actually form a different mental attitude. So you have a specific way that you are perceiving reality, and that will create your behaviors, and those behaviors will make decisions and make you take action in a very specific way. And those actions and decisions that you make will lead you to creating an experience. And that is how your perception, your beliefs create your identity.